Welcome.
Welcome to the Everything Podcast. In this episode, I'm continuing and will be the final part of my review of Doctor Who, the novel adaptations Goth opera. But without further ado, here's my review the final part of my review of Goth opera. We start off with the part 3 title sequence. Yarvin compliments Ruath's research. An explosion occurs. Daytime returns, which saves the Doctor's life. Tegan realises that the vampires are behind daytime becoming nighttime. The Doctor wants to analyse the creature's remains. Ruath works out why her experiment stopped working and brought daytime back. Ruath is using sheep remains as part of her experiment. Yarvin calls Nyssa a transparent creature. Ruath mentions Nyssa's home planet. Ruath believes Nyssa and her species are primitive. Ruath compares the Doctor to a lamb about to be killed. Maddie reads Victor's mind. Maddie apologises. Maddie calls Victor old-fashioned. Maddie mentions Jake on their trip to the moon. Maddie reassures Victor. Victor continues to believe that vampires are evil. Maddie compares vampires eating humans to humans eating cows. Maddie calls Victor a cow. Maddie explains why she believes vampires are superior to humans. Victor reveals he would choose no life over life as a vampire. Yarvin meets Victor. Nyssa questions Maddie transporting Victor. Nyssa asks Maddie to show her where they are on a map. Tegan describes what she can see through a telescope. The Doctor explains how what Tegan is looking at connects to vampires. Tegan calls the vampires' plan horrific. Nyssa discusses Victor with Ruath. Nyssa works out that Yarvin lied to her. Ruath reveals Yarvin's plan to Nyssa. Ruath mentions Rassilon. The Doctor and Tegan try to find another way to rescue Nyssa. Maddie talks to Jake about Victor. Jake questions Yarvin and Ruath's actions. Maddie expresses her fear of change. Jake reassures Maddie. Ruath is finally honest with Nyssa. Nyssa doesn't understand what the vampires want with the Doctor. Ruath explains. Ruath wants the Doctor to die within a week. Nyssa and Ruath fight. Ruath threatens and insults Nyssa. Yarvin calls Nyssa misguided. The Doctor's TARDIS materialises. Tegan and the Doctor find Victor delivering a speech. The vampire's location is revealed to the Doctor and Tegan. Nyssa begs for help. Maddie tries to calm down Nyssa. Nyssa discovers she is trapped in a coffin. Maddie apologises. The Doctor tells Tegan about his meeting with Victor. The Doctor compares coordinates on Victor's head to invisible ink. Tegan persists the Doctor about not leaving her in the TARDIS. Tegan mentions Adric. The Doctor asks Tegan for some tea. Yarvin checks on Ruath's well-being. Ruath yells at Yarvin. Ruath is making sure her experiment becomes permanent. Ruath warns Yarvin about the Doctor. The Doctor asks Tegan her opinion on his TARDIS's hat stand. The Doctor explains when to use the stake. Victor and Olivia discuss Victor's kidnapping. Victor believes the end of the world is imminent. Tegan mentions coaches and Dracula. Tegan questions the vampire's plan. Tegan mentions paperwork. Victor tests his microphone multiple times. The Doctor comments on the moat's water. The Doctor mentions hot wiring car. The Doctor believes the vampire's base of operations is a TARDIS. The Doctor asks Tegan to look for a TARDIS key. Tegan thinks the Doctor has gone insane. Tegan shoots down the Doctor's idea of having his TARDIS surrounded by water. The Doctor warns Tegan of what she's about to see. Jeremy is willing to sacrifice himself. Jeremy says goodbye and thanks Ruath. Jeremy screams. Victor welcomes a large amount of people to an event he is hosting. The Doctor mentions time fractures. Tegan checks on the Doctor. Tegan questions the Doctor's plan. The Doctor reminds Tegan why they are here, which is to rescue Nyssa. Tegan and the Doctor separate. Yarvin attacks the Doctor. Yarvin calls the state the Doctor has made pathetic. The Doctor knows Ruath. Ruath convinces Yarvin to not kill the Doctor. Yarvin shouts to the Doctor. Yarvin asks for the Doctor to be thrown into the pit. Tegan discovers where Nyssa is. Nyssa and Tegan communicate. Tegan attempts to open the coffin. Nyssa is trapped in. Nyssa escapes. Nyssa attacks Tegan. Ruath is delighted to learn of Nyssa's full transformation. Ruath informs Nyssa that Tegan is required alive. The Doctor and Tegan reunite in the pit. Tegan and the Doctor discuss their progress. The Doctor and Ruath communicate. The Doctor mentions Gallifrey. Ruath calls Tegan a pet human. Tegan defends herself. Ruath apologises. The Doctor explains his connection to Ruath. Ruath comments on her friendship with the Doctor. The Doctor defends himself. The Doctor reminds Ruath she's working with vampires. Olivia comments on Victor's happiness. Someone helps Nyssa understand her new urges. The person promises to find Nyssa something to eat. Nyssa is shown Jeremy's remains. Nyssa is referred to as a little creature. Ruath reveals the DNA similarities between vampires and Time Lords. Ruath mentions Rassilon and the Great Vampire. The Doctor reveals how old Gallifrey really is. Ruath calls renegade Time Lords ridiculous. Ruath mentions the tomb of Rassilon. The Doctor picks up on Ruath's limited vocabulary. The Doctor mentions Skaro. Ruath wants to merge Time Lords and vampires. Yarvin mentions Ruath. Yarvin comments on the Doctor's remaining regenerations. Yarvin also wants to merge Time Lords and vampires. Ruath explains what a time freeze is. Ruath describes her plan. The Doctor learns of the part he will play in Ruath's plan. The Doctor mentions his past as Lord President of Gallifrey. The Doctor apologises. The Doctor agrees to join Ruath. The Doctor reminds Tegan he is not human and is in fact a Time Lord. Yarvin issues the vampires with some orders. Ruath has eaten some of the Doctor's blood. Yarvin checks on Ruath. Ruath lies to Yarvin. The Doctor realizes that Yarvin and Ruath's true intentions. Yarvin seems to be dying. Yarvin reveals his plan. The Doctor reminds Tegan of his two options. The Doctor lists some of the activities he participated in when he was younger. The Doctor reveals Ruath actually ate some of his blood. Maddie and Jake discuss their future together. The Doctor uses his increased strength to his advantage. Nyssa attacks Tegan. Tegan pleads for her life. The Doctor apologises. Jeremy is dying. Jeremy will die within 3 hours. Yarvin and Ruath discuss the prophecies related to vampires. Yarvin knew that Ruath would betray him. Ruath strongly disagrees with one of the prophecies. Ruath insults Yarvin's understanding of the prophecies. Yarvin mind controls Ruath. Yarvin re-encounters the Doctor. Yarvin wants the entire universe to be under vampire control. Yarvin orders someone to attach the Doctor to a machine. Victor continues to deliver his speech. Victor mentions blood and Victor is a vampire. Victor laughs. Victor's guests are attacked. Yarvin describes how Victor became a vampire. Nyssa is ordered to set Tegan free. Tegan questions the Doctor's current situation. The Doctor uses a Time Lord command. The Doctor asks Tegan and Nyssa to run. Yarvin orders some of the vampires to hunt down the Doctor and his companions. Victor is attacked. Victor screams. The Doctor gives Nyssa some medicine Ruath invented. Ruath returns to her usual self. Nyssa and Tegan reunite. Nyssa shows the Doctor and Tegan an escape route. Yarvin is outraged at his plan failing. The Doctor mentions stained glass windows. The Doctor has transformed Ruath's TARDIS into a metal disc. Yarvin yells at the Doctor. The Doctor mentions Rassilon. The Doctor explains how he and his companions escaped. The Doctor offers the vampires a planet that is just for them. The Doctor apologises. Yarvin is destroyed. Tegan checks on the Doctor. Nyssa gets some fresh air whilst the Doctor and Tegan return to the TARDIS. The Doctor reunites with Ruath. The Doctor discovers that Ruath is still a vampire. Ruath will remain a vampire as long as she stays in her TARDIS. The Doctor reveals why he abandoned Ruath. The Doctor refers to Ruath as an insanity. Ruath reminds the Doctor of her plan. Ruath calls the Doctor a fool. Ruath compares the Doctor to Yarvin. The Doctor understands that every planet will die one day. The Doctor asks Ruath to allow him to set her free. Ruath attacks Tegan. Ruath calls Tegan an ape. Ruath challenges Tegan to kill her. Nyssa pilots Ruath's TARDIS. Nyssa forces Ruath out of her TARDIS. Nyssa apologises. Tegan checks on the Doctor. Nyssa checks on the Doctor's well-being. Tegan refers to Ruath as the Doctor's girlfriend. The Doctor disagrees with this. The Doctor and his companions have returned to Australia. The Doctor mentions cricket to Tegan's displeasure, and Maddie and Jake are still alive. That is that is it for my reviews of Goth Opera, because it's been split in 3 parts with it being so long. So next time on the Everything Podcast, I will be going through the behind the scenes for Goth Opera, and there is no trailer or anything like that for it, unfortunately. But let me know what you thought about Goth Opera if you've listened to it, and my reviews if you haven't. Put your thoughts on both of those in the comments below, as well as anything else you want to come to the channel. So review suggestions for your favourite TV show or movie. Some ones that we've had already include The Boys Season 4, House of the Dragon, both Seasons 1 and 2, as well as Fallout. And movie side, we've had Hitman, Back to the Future Part 2, and Argyle, which I am about halfway through writing at the moment. And remember, you can also send some book or comic reviews. I will be reviewing the Avengers Forever comic series at some point soon. But at some point, not necessarily soon, but at some point. And yes, and as I previously mentioned, I'm reviewing all the news that has come out of San Diego Comic Con in D23 2024. As of recording, San Diego Comic Con happened nearly a week ago, and D23 is just over a week, so we're just in the middle area there. But yeah. Go on to the Everything Podcast Twitter. It's also on TikTok, and the community page will be where all that news is posted first. So if you don't want to wait to see all that news, then it's there for you to see. Yes, we're back. Yes, so is there anything else? Oh yes, I remember put all of your thoughts on all of those in the comments below. Remember, you can also like, comment and subscribe. That's it for this episode of the Everything Podcast. Goodbye.